2020 race in a new poll out of Iowa showing South Bend Mayor Pete Buttigieg surging into third place. Monmouth University's poll of likely Democratic caucus goers has Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders holding on to the top two spots at 27% and 16% respectively. And then Pete Buttigieg, Elizabeth Warren, and Kamala Harris round out the top five. Joining me now to talk about this, Democratic strategist Antoine Seawright, former senior advisor to Hillary Clinton's campaign, and nationally syndicated columnist Adriana Cohen, also a Boston Herald radio host. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
All right, Antoine, there's a lot of buzz around Pete Buttigieg. The LA Times recently calling him the hottest thing in politics. So how significant is this ride to third place at this stage of the race?
Well, I think it's measurable, and I think there's potential for Mayor Pete fever to break out in the Democratic primary. However, I always caution people about polls. They are simply a snapshot of the time, and depending on who's asking the question, how it's being asked, and when it's being asked, determine the response you get. But I commend Pete because he was, quite frankly, a non-known candidate up to this point, and now he is making headway, and that is a prime example of what happens when you're able to effectively communicate a message that resonates with people.
Adriana, you're watching this. How do you explain his rise?
Well, you know, I agree with Antoine. He's an appealing candidate. He speaks very well. Mayor Pete is very articulate. And there's lightning in a bottle right now for the LGBT community. We saw that in the midterms. There's been a surge of LGBT candidates that have been elected nationwide. And now we just saw the mayor of Chicago is part of that community. She won, I think, every county. You know, she was widely received and elected in that major city. And so there is a movement. There's definitely a welcoming atmosphere out there for LGBT candidates, and that's something our country should applaud.
Well, I want to caution my friend for 1 second, because I don't know if we should put Mayor Pete or even the mayor of Chicago in a box saying that is the reason why they're having success. I think he's having success because he's talking about bread and butter issues, barbershop, beauty salons. If you live in South Carolina, Kiki's Chicken and Waffles, Lizard Thicket, and Big T's barbecue issues, and those are the things that voters are excited about, even those who may not align themselves with the Democratic Party, but tend to fall in line with the independent thinking category. He's generating excitement, he's generating money, and he's generating momentum, and I think those things will keep him, because the key to this race is sustainability, particularly this early.
And we also have this back and forth now between Buttigieg and Vice President Mike Pence. That's still playing out here. Let's listen to the latest on that.
We had a great working relationship, and he said some things that are critical of my Christian faith and about me personally, and he knows better. He knows me.
I'm not critical of his faith. I'm critical of bad policies. I have a problem with religion being used as a justification to harm people, and especially in the LGBTQ community. It shouldn't be legal to discriminate against anybody in this country for who they are.
Is that a fair criticism, Adriana?
Well, you know, I want to, reiterate first that Vice President Pence, has supported Mayor Pete. You know, when he came out in 2015, Vice President Pence applauded him. He called him a patriot. And so that needs to be said. But, the Trump administration is right now engaged in a global push to decriminalize homosexuality around the world. And so when Democrats, accuse Republicans of being anti-LGBT, that's simply false. And so I just want to make it clear that was probably the most perhaps underreported story, this global push by the Trump administration to decriminalize homosexuality.
Let's slow down for a second. I think it is Saturday morning political malpractice for you to say that this administration, particularly this vice president, doesn't have a record of being anti-LGBTQ on the issues. I think the proof is in the pudding with that. What I think happened in this scenario is that Mayor Pete represents what Indiana is and what they're going to be, and Mike Pence represent what Indiana used to be. And that's where the divide is, and I think you can probably translate that to this country. I think this administration, if you look at some of the policy positions they've taken as relates to the LGBT community, and you look at where the country is, the mood of the country, they are out of touch and pretty much out of bounds.
All right, Antoine.
Well, not President Trump. I mean, President Trump says he's fine with same-sex marriage.
Did
and let's not forget that President Obama was not.
Did you read about the military ban that I read about recently? Because if you read that and if you heard about that, then you will understand exactly the position I take this morning.
Now, Adriana, go ahead, respond.
I want to say that, people's positions evolve. I mean, President Obama ran in 2008 being against same-sex marriage. Same with Hillary Clinton. Bill Clinton, supported Don't Ask, Don't Tell. And so their positions have evolved, and maybe Vice President Pence as well in the future. But that being said, President Trump has said he's fine with same-sex marriage, and right now his administration is engaged in a global push to decriminalize homosexuality, and that should be commended.
You're playing political dodgeball with one thing I just said. Have you read about, heard about, or seen the recent military ban implemented by this administration? You can't have it both ways. You have to call things like they are, call balls and strikes where you see them, or you and I are doing a disservice by coming on this Saturday morning program trying to bojangle the American people.
Yeah, but just because President Trump doesn't support transgenders in the military, it doesn't mean that he's anti-LGBT, nor is Vice President Pence.
Tell me, how does that work?
All right, Adriana. All right.
Tell me, how does that work?
There are now 18 Democrats that are running against Donald Trump. And an early clip from this Sunday's Face the Nation, we got a hold of that. Here's what Trump's campaign manager from 2020 is saying about this large field that we see here.
I'm not really worried about any of them right now. I think they're going to beat up each other so much. I'm expecting another 15, I think, by next weekend, it seems like.
But Beto O'Rourke, Bernie Sanders, they've been given credit for building out in the digital space, connecting with people that way.
Yeah, and none of them have even touched us in one metric yet. I think, look, nobody in Republican politics has ever been close to this kind of enthusiasm and small dollar excitement.
Adriana, what do you think? Does Trump benefit from more Democrats running, or is Brad Parscale just downplaying the threat here?
No, I think Brad is absolutely right. I mean, all these candidates, they're going to have to battle it out. They're going to have to fight for money. They're going to have to fight for name recognition. And none of them can touch President Trump right now in 2020. I mean, the Democrat Party has swung so far to the left. They've disconnected with everyday voters. This is a party now that supports infanticide. It supports the preposterous Green New Deal, which is estimated to cost $93 trillion. It's simply not going to happen. They support Medicare for all, which is going to cost $33 trillion. I mean, the policies that Democrats are presenting right now will bankrupt America. They'll destroy millions of jobs, and this is not going to appeal to everyday Americans.
Antoine, should Democrats be concerned about the possibility of this vote being fractured because there are so many candidates out there now?
Doesn't make it true. Number two, I think we're going to have a very robust and intense primary, just like the Republicans had in 2016. The primary gives the opportunity for the marketplace of ideas to take place. That's okay. I do believe that if we effectively communicate a message, as we did in 2018, that connected with Democrats, Republicans, and independent thinkers alike, we'll not only see what we saw in 2018, but we'll expand those numbers, and we will take back that temporary public housing unit at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Now, to my party, if we do not come together, whoever the voters decide to nominate as our nominee and support the ticket, then we will be back in the same box we're in now, and we would have not only failed this party, but we would have failed this country. And so, for us, stronger together means everything.
All right, Adriana, you got to give me one, maybe two if you'd like. Who do you fear the most out of the Democratic field?
I have to tell you, Philip, I really don't feel any of them, given the fact that the economy is so strong.
Nobody's a threat.
No one is a threat, right? No one, because look at the strong economy. No, a strong economy. Remember, it's the economy, stupid. We have a robust economy.
All
and
right.
at the end of the day, Americans care about more money in their paycheck.
No, they care about health care as they did in 2018, and I think you all forget that. You tried the same message in 18, and it did not work, and we'll see the same results in 20 if you run on that. So run, please run.
All right, I appreciated the spirit debate this morning. Antoine Seawright, Adriana Cohen, thank you both for joining us. Solving a problem.